class. This is your first lecture that I have provided for you on a homework day, so welcome. We are going to talk about a few different things. Some of this is going to be review, some of it is going to be from the grammar pages I assigned for you today, and some of it is going to be new information. But I would ask that you have out your grammar book because I will be referring to it at times, and you may want to and may need to look at it as we go through. So, putting it in a paragraph. Just a little bit of review from yesterday. What's in a paragraph? There were some of those things about a paragraph on page 72 that we're not really focused on. The main things that you need to know about a paragraph is that it's going to have a topic sentence that tells what the paragraph is about. All other sentences should develop the topic, in other words, tell about that topic. Good paragraphs have unity. Okay, so if you find a sentence after you've written your paragraph and you go back and reread it, if there is a sentence that does not directly help you develop that topic, cut it out. And then usually we saw some paragraphs that do not end with a summarizing statement, but usually you're going to want to include a statement that kind of wraps up everything you've talked about in your paragraph. Okay, now this is something that is not in our book. If you turn to page 77, you will see that the title of that section is Writing Explanatory Paragraphs. Then if you turn to page 81, the name of that section is Writing a Narrative Paragraph. Okay, and those are actually the only two types of writing that are addressed in our book. But I wanted you to be aware of all four types of writing that exist and the different names of those types of writing. This is something you may want to write down somewhere. Okay, explanatory can also be called expository. Okay, that's that word that you see on your screen, expository. It's also known as informative. So any of those three words can be used and it mean the same type of writing. Expository, informative, explanatory. That is exactly what it sounds like, at least informative and explanatory. You're explaining something. You're giving information to your reader. Okay. Then you have persuasive, which is surprisingly not addressed in your book, and this is something that we will probably talk more about and probably do some later. Persuasive can also be known as argumentative or argument writing. And I know that we typically think of arguments as like anger and fighting, but argument just simply means that you're making a claim. This is the right way to do this. Although swimming lessons cost money, they are a good investment. Having a hobby is a good way to de-stress from school. It's making a claim that something is correct. Okay, so argumentative writing is maybe a little bit of a stronger stance than persuasive, but it's that same idea of this is my claim or this is my opinion, and I'm going to try to prove it to you. Okay, that's what that type of writing does, is it's stating an opinion and trying to prove it. Descriptive is simply writing that appeals to the five senses. So smell, taste, touch, hearing. You would consider this imagery. Poetry could be descriptive writing. And then lastly, you have a narrative, which is a story. Chronological, beginning, middle, end. It can be fiction or nonfiction. Okay, so those are your four types of writing. Now we're going to backtrack a little bit and talk about the ways to develop a topic sentence, and then I'm going to explain to you why I talked about the four types of writing. Okay, the first four of these ways, details, examples, reasons, and anecdote, are all ways that we've already looked at in our book. If you need to review that, the list is on page 75 in your grammar book. And the brown Look Closely box lists those 4 things, and it tells you what paragraphs in the textbook are examples of those. So you have details, examples, reasons, and anecdote. Now, the next 3, chronological order, order of importance, and comparison and contrast, are all also ways that you can develop your topic sentence. Those are discussed in the reading that you have for today, page 76 and 77. Now, why I talked to you about the 4 types of writing is that on page 76, you are going to write a paragraph. If you look at page 76 for Write B, it says develop a paragraph about 100 words from one of your topic sentences from Write B. Okay. Some of your topic sentences may lend themselves to expository writing, some may lend themselves to persuasive, some may lend themselves to narrative. And you didn't even realize that when you wrote those on Monday. But you probably have a wide variety in your examples, and so I want you to understand that and know what the types of writing are, so when you write your paragraph you can be like, oh, well, I'm telling the story about this one family vacation, this is a narrative, or I'm explaining why I think swimming lessons are a good investment, so that would be expository. But the thing about it is, regardless of which of these types of writing you are employing, you still have almost all of these options. So regardless of what type of writing you're doing, you are still, as a writer, having to make a conscious choice about whether you want to use details, examples, reasons, anecdote, chronological order, order of importance, or comparison. Now, there are a few things that may sometimes not work, like descriptive. You may not use order of importance. I don't know. Some narrative, you probably wouldn't use order of importance. It would probably be chronological. But for the most part, all of these are options. And really, when you decide which ways to develop your topic sentence, you're considering more of the topic than the type of writing. Okay, so what I want to do is give you some examples of some topic sentences. I know we talked about those in class. Some of the ones I use in this PowerPoint will be ones that we talked about in class that I gave you. Some of them will be different. I didn't really remember for sure any of your topic sentences, but I want to give you a few examples of this thought process as to what ways should you develop a topic sentence. So, if you were writing a paragraph about my first swimming lesson was a disaster, you need to consider what information you want to use, what way you want to develop your topic sentence. Okay, here are all your possibilities. Details, examples, reasons, anecdote, chronological order, order of importance, comparison, and contrast. With this specific topic, you are probably writing a narrative. Okay, you're writing the story of your first swimming lesson. So, like I mentioned a minute ago, you're probably not going to use order of importance, because maybe the most embarrassing thing that happened in your swimming lesson was at the end of the lesson. But you wouldn't want to write about that first. You would want to build up to that. You would want to go in chronological order and tell everything that happened, instead of just the most embarrassing thing was this, the second most embarrassing thing was this, the third most embarrassing thing was when I tripped and fell as I was walking into class. That doesn't really make sense. Okay? You might not use comparison and contrast because this topic sentence doesn't tell me anything that you're comparing this to. It's just your first swimming lesson was a disaster. You've not given me anything as a reader to tell me that you're going to compare and contrast. Okay, so notice that I'm basing my decisions on the ways I'm going to develop my topic sentence, not by the type of writing, but by the topic itself. This happens to be narrative. I said earlier that some narratives might have comparison contrast, but this particular instance probably wouldn't. Okay, now here's another example. Topic sentence, and I went ahead and picked 2 for this one. My family vacations can be really boring, or traveling with my family has been very educational. Either of these could be written as a narrative, a story with a beginning, middle, and end, or it could be expository. You could be, especially with that second one, traveling with my family has been very educational, you may be explaining to me 3 educational vacations you've gone on. So these topic sentences could be used in various ways, but based on the topic, how do I want to develop these? Okay. With almost all of these, you're probably going to be using details or examples or reasons or anecdote, especially with these possibly being narratives, you're going to be using stories or anecdotes, perhaps. If you were telling me about one vacation, you might use chronological order. But the way these are worded, my family vacations can be really boring. You've mentioned more than one vacation. So you probably need to talk about multiple examples, talk about multiple reasons that make these vacations boring, or that make these vacations educational. So you probably need to come up with an order of importance instead of going in chronological. And then my last example for you is an example from your good influences, topic sentences from page 73. Having a good role model, or having good role models, can have a positive impact on your life. This would actually probably be a persuasive paper. You're trying to prove or convince your reader that having a good role model is important. Almost all of your options are available to you except for chronological order. There's no indication in that topic sentence that this is a story or that this is something that has happened over time. So you can give your details or reasons or anecdotes. You can compare having good role models with not having good role models, but there's not really anything chronological here. Now, I hope these last 3 slides or so have not been too overwhelming. I know I really quickly ran through a lot of information and a lot of thought processes that, may be completely different than what you're thinking of, with completely different topic sentences. But really what I wanted to show you is to just really give you an idea of how purposeful you have to be when you write and when you choose what you're going to write about and how you're going to write about it. Like I mentioned in class on Monday, speaking specifically about the words, you have to choose the words that you use in a way so that it makes sense. We talked about page 20 of your grammar book, and I said, it doesn't make sense if you say, I work out every day, although I may pass the physical fitness test. You follow the directions, you use the right connecting words, but the sentence doesn't make sense anymore. It makes more sense to say, if I work out every day, I may pass the physical fitness test. Or because I work out every day, I may pass the physical fitness test. Okay, this is not exactly the same thing, but it's similar. It's putting thought behind the words you choose. It's putting thought behind the information you choose to include in your paragraph. Okay, now all that being said, it may seem that I overthought this process, and I don't want you to overthink this process. Write B does not have to be hard. Remember that you are going to read page 76, you're going to read page 77. You do need to do Think A, Write B, and Study A. I don't want this to take a really long time for you, especially after you've had to listen to this lecture as well. Write B says develop a paragraph of about 100 words from one of your topic sentences. That is not a long paragraph. This does not have to be long. It does not have to be hard. But you should think through what type of information you want to use for your paragraph. Are you going to use details? Are you going to put it in chronological order? Are you going to compare and contrast? Are you going to use examples? Are you going to use reasons? Okay. I'm probably going to ask you in class what you used and why. So just be ready for that and be aware of that. Okay. Don't forget that you also have page 30 in your spelling book, pages 76 and 77 in your grammar book. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in class on Wednesday.